said it'd be days like this.
Ingrid Goes West is my favorite film of 2017. Not that many people have seen it, some don't even know about it. It's definitely not a film for everyone. When this film is labeled as a comedy, it's important to put the word black before it, because this film can get pretty serious. Why do I like this movie more than other critically acclaimed films of 2017? Like Get Out, Dunkirk, The Disaster Artist, Logan, Lady Bird, Call Me By Your Name, Three Billboards. Sorry, that film so did not deserve Best Picture. Anyway, it's my favorite because, well, honestly, I don't know if it's more to do with the movie itself or the time in my life that I saw it. No slight against the movie, I think it's ingeniously written and there are new things that I pick up on every time I see it. But when I first saw this movie, I was going through some major turbulence. I had gotten out of college and I didn't have a plan. Without going into too much detail, I quite literally lost my mind. I began to have anxiety attacks and became aggressively confrontational towards my family. I thought that I would sink into emotional squalor and that there would be nothing I could do about it. But then I made a risky decision that I avoided telling my family about for a while. Then I sent them a text about it. Then I shut off my phone. And I watched this movie in the theater, trying to have a calm before the storm. And when it was over, my first emotion was slight disappointment. Because even though I did root for Ingrid, there were still things that she had to answer for. Well, I had something to answer for too. My family was not happy that I had kept the truth from them. I should have told them the truth, but I was worried about what they'd say. I have a tendency to do that, try to avoid consequences and instead create worse consequences. Anyway, personal things aside, let's talk about Ingrid Goes West. So, Ingrid Thorburn, played by Aubrey Plaza, is, to say the least, a very troubled young woman. Very obvious from the get-go, since the first scene shows her macing a woman named Charlotte in the eyes. Supposedly, Ingrid and Charlotte were friends, and Charlotte did not invite Ingrid to her wedding. And then we get a scene where one of Charlotte's friends spots Ingrid in a grocery store. This friend goes into pretty explicit detail right in front of Ingrid about how Charlotte merely commented on one of Ingrid's posts, and no friendship was ever really involved. But it's revealed that Charlotte was the only one who reached out after Ingrid's mother died. So Charlotte does hold some kind of strong meaning with Ingrid. This raises a few questions. If Charlotte was the only one who reached out to Ingrid after her mother's passing, Ingrid must obviously not have that many followers. I mean, we probably figured that out from the get-go, but if Charlotte managed to find Ingrid, maybe they knew each other. Maybe they went to school together. I'm just speculating, but there's a lot going on in this movie. To Ingrid, Taylor here, played by Elizabeth Olsen, looks to have a perfect life with a great husband. Ingrid, meanwhile, is all alone in her deceased mother's house trying to escape her sad existence through social media. And then she finds that her mother has left her a big amount of money. So Ingrid takes it and heads for LA. She gets a place and meets with her new landlord, Dan, played by O'Shea Jackson Jr. Here, Dan gets rather suspicious about Ingrid's money, so she's kind of forced to come forward. So already there's some kind of mutual understanding between these two. So then Ingrid encounters Taylor in public and tries to be cool. It doesn't work out. So what's the solution? Kidnap her dog and pretend she found her. So most of the movie is Ingrid and Taylor hanging out and being friends. And throughout the whole experience, Olsen paints Taylor as an insincere woman only concerned with her Instagram career. I see Ingrid as someone who wants to stop doing the things she does and wants friends who accept her for who she is. But rejection hurts her severely. Maybe that means she's a narcissist, but she's not proud of it. Anyway, while Ingrid and Taylor are seeing Casey and JoJo in the car, They get into a bit of a crash, and this does not go over well with Dan. But Ingrid actually tries to make up for what she's done. Now that I think about it, this might have been how it was with Ingrid and her mother. Dad and Ingrid end up bonding over their personal losses and confide in each other. But when Ingrid takes Dan to meet Taylor, she tells him not to talk about Batman, which she loves, and instead talk about something cool like food and clothes or Joan Didion. But Dan still seems accepting and loving towards Ingrid. So maybe Dan sees Ingrid for who she really is and stays with her to keep her happy. Anyway, things start unraveling fast. I forgot to mention, Nicky, played by Billy Magnuson, is Taylor's brother. And he's an ass. He finds out about Ingrid's obsession and threatens to have her hopes and dreams taken away from her, and Ingrid's pretty much losing her mind again. So they decide to drag Nicky all the way out to the desert and threaten him, but a fight ends up breaking out and Ingrid goes upside Nicky's head with a crowbar. The lengths that some will go to. And of course, the truth is soon revealed. I want to talk real quick about the character of Taylor's husband Ezra, played by Wyatt Russell. In an earlier scene, we see the kind of art he's employed. It's just bot paintings with Instagram hashtags painted over them. So maybe for him, he's hit rock bottom. He's lost all hope for success with his art and stooped to Instagram levels. So he's trying to do what's right and be there for his wife. But I get the feeling their marriage is not going to last forever. Ezra will rediscover his love for art and lose his interest in Taylor, but for now they've got to come to terms with the circumstances they've been dealt. So at this point, Ingrid is so desperate for love and acceptance that she buys the house next to Taylor's in Joshua Tree using all of her mom's money. She pretty much becomes a homeless person with a home. And then Dan doesn't return her texts, so she thinks she's lost him too. And then the power goes off. So Ingrid tries to sneak over to Taylor's just to charge her phone. But as you'd imagine, she is revealed. So then we get the scene where it all falls into place. If you watch this scene, let's look at this from Ingrid's point of view. A very successful Instagram star has just called her sad, pathetic, and sick without appearing fazed by her attempts to bring her down. Now Ingrid feels there's no hope for happiness in her life, so she just lets it all out in probably the most important scene. Ingrid does not care as much about fame as she does about happiness, but she has been convinced that fame is the key to happiness, and that has damaged her emotionally and psychologically, to the point where she believes she will never be accepted and can only find peace in death. But, as it turns out, Dan saw Ingrid's video and called 911. So even though Dan doesn't know the whole story and will eventually have to, it's clear that he's accepted Ingrid for who she is. And it turns out Ingrid's suicide video went viral and pretty much the whole world knows her name. So yeah, when it ended right there, it kind of felt like the movie was saying, it doesn't matter if you maced a woman on her wedding day, kidnapped a dog, and left a man out in the desert, you can still be loved. But the fact is, I like Ingrid Goes West because I feel it understands me. Not that I've ever maced a woman on her wedding day, kidnapped a dog, or left a man out in the desert, but mental instability? Tell me about it. But then I showed this movie to my dad. He thought the ending worked as a cautionary tale. Ingrid is still not mentally well, so she is still capable of doing many wrong things. So she will eventually have to own up to what she's done. How so? Well, I have ideas.